I was standing on my front porch with a calm smile across my face, while my son-in-law, Michael, wore a smug expression, like he had already won. His parents had just pulled up with a huge moving truck, laughing and full of excitement, prepared to move all their belongings into my house as if it already belonged to them. My daughter Ashley had married him 6 months earlier, and ever since the beginning, they acted like my beautiful suburban home in Ohio was their winning lottery ticket. They never once asked respectfully. They simply assumed it was happening. Hey everyone, welcome to Behind Dad. If you enjoy true stories about family betrayal, entitled people finally facing consequences, and fathers standing up to protect their daughters, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. This story will keep you hooked all the way to the end. Michael climbed out of the car wearing that arrogant grin, motioning toward his mum and dad like they were arriving at their brand new mansion. His mother was already pointing toward the garage, talking about which side she wanted for her storage. His father scanned the property like he already owned every inch of it. I didn't say a word. I simply stood there politely smiling while they hauled boxes up the driveway. The tension in the air was impossible to ignore. They believed I was just the quiet, kind father-in-law who would eventually cave and hand over everything. They were about to discover just how wrong they were. As soon as they reached the porch, Michael gave me that cocky little smirk and said, "Well, Dave, we finally made it. Time to make this official, right?" Without saying anything, I reached into my pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and handed it directly to him. At first he laughed, assuming it was some kind of joke or welcome note. He unfolded it and began reading it out loud so his parents could hear every word. The three of them read it slowly. Then, suddenly, every bit of colour drained from their faces. The entire driveway fell completely silent. None of them expected what was written on that paper. Everything really started about 2 months after Ashley and Michael got married. In the beginning, Michael appeared to be a solid guy. He had a decent job, knew exactly what to say, and always treated my daughter well whenever we were around. But over time, the real Michaels slowly started revealing himself. He began making little comments about how fortunate Ashley was to marry into such a large house with plenty of extra space. Then his parents started coming around more frequently, constantly dropping subtle hints about how expensive rent had become, and how wonderful it would be if we all lived together as one happy family. One Sunday evening during dinner, Michael looked directly at me and said, "You know, Dave, once you retire, this house would be perfect for all of us. We could all stay here together." His parents nodded immediately, like the decision had already been made. Ashley looked uneasy, but she stayed silent because she wanted to keep the peace. I smiled politely and changed the subject, but deep down I was furious. I had spent 35 hard years working, sacrificing, and building that home for my family, not to hand it over to entitled strangers who had never earned any of it. That same night, I decided I had seen more than enough. The very next morning, I quietly met with my lawyer and started putting things into motion. I transferred the house into a trust for Ashley, updated the deed, and made sure everything was legally protected airtight. While I was handling that, I also started digging into Michael's background. What I uncovered shocked me. He had been fired from his previous 2 jobs for stealing money from the companies. He wasn't earning anywhere near the salary he constantly bragged about, and his parents weren't struggling financially either. They simply wanted to live off my hard work for free. I kept every bit of it hidden. Around them, I continued acting completely normal. I even helped move a few boxes whenever they asked. Ashley had absolutely no idea what was coming. She still believed the man she married was honest and good. But I knew the truth, and I patiently waited for the perfect moment. So when that moving truck finally rolled into my driveway that morning, I was fully prepared. The note was short, direct, and crystal clear. It said, "This house is no longer under my name. I transferred it into Ashley's trust 2 months ago. You are not welcome here. Any attempt to move in or harass my family will result in immediate legal action and a police report for trespassing. The locks have already been changed." Michael slowly lifted his eyes from the paper, his face turning bright red from shock and anger. "What the hell is this, Dave?" he yelled. His mother instantly covered her mouth with her hand. His father looked like he might collapse right there on the porch. I stayed completely calm and replied, "You were so desperate to move in, but this house was never yours, and it never will be. My daughter deserves far better than a man who only married her to get a free home." Ashley heard all the yelling and came outside. At first, she looked confused, but after reading the note herself, tears immediately filled her eyes as the truth finally hit her. Michael instantly tried twisting the story around, calling me insane and accusing me of overreacting. His parents jumped in too, claiming I was selfish and heartless, but I had already prepared for that. I printed copies of everything: bank records, text messages between Michael and his parents openly discussing how they planned to take over my house after the wedding, and proof exposing all of his lies. Neighbours slowly started stepping outside to watch the entire situation unfold. The moving truck sat there completely useless, with its back door hanging open. Michael's famous smirk was completely gone now. Instead, he looked desperate, embarrassed, and small. Eventually, he started begging, saying they had nowhere else to go. I told him that was no longer my concern. They had exactly 6 hours to reload every single thing back into that truck and get off my property. Ashley stood beside me through the entire confrontation. For the first time in months, I could finally see clarity returning to her eyes. The days that followed were emotional and difficult, but they needed to happen. Ashley moved back home with me while she figured out what to do next. She cried often and was completely heartbroken, but the more truth she uncovered, the stronger and clearer she became. Michael wouldn't stop calling or texting. At first, he was angry and threatening. Then, later, he switched to crying and promising he would change. His parents even came by once trying to guilt Ashley into forgiving him. I stood firm and reminded them about the note and the legal consequences waiting for them if they pushed any further. Eventually, I sat down with Ashley and showed her every piece of evidence I had quietly gathered. The lies about his job, the secret conversations with his parents, about taking over my home, and how carefully they had planned everything from the start. She cried for days afterward. But then, something powerful changed inside her. She got angry. In the best possible way. Ashley filed for an annulment and slowly started taking back control of her life. I helped her hire an excellent lawyer and made sure she stayed fully protected financially. Meanwhile, Michael and his parents had to scramble quickly. They ended up squeezed into a tiny one-bedroom apartment across town. That same evening, the moving truck finally pulled away from my driveway, completely empty. The silence after they drove off was one of the most satisfying feelings I've ever experienced in my life. Ashley and I spent many quiet evenings sitting together on the back porch, talking for hours. She thanked me for protecting her, even when she couldn't recognize the danger herself. I told her that's what real fathers do. We protect our children, even when they don't realize they need protecting. Little by little, the light started returning to her eyes again. 6 months have passed since that unforgettable day in the driveway. Ashley is doing incredibly well now. She's happier, stronger, more confident, and finally free from Michael's control. For now, she's still staying with me while she saves money, but she's already searching for her own place and planning a completely fresh start. Michael attempted contacting her one final time with more apologies and excuses, but she blocked him and never looked back. Last I heard, he and his parents are still struggling to afford rent in that tiny apartment. I don't regret a single thing I did that day. Sometimes being a good father means making difficult decisions that other people are too afraid to make. That simple note in the driveway changed everything. And honestly, I would do it all over again without hesitation. If you're a parent listening to this story right now, never be afraid to stand up and protect your child from people who only want to use them. And if you've ever dealt with toxic relationships or entitled in-laws, leave a comment below and tell me your story. Share this video with any dad, daughter, or friend who needs to hear this message today. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. I'm David, and this was my true story. If someone is trying to take advantage of your kindness, your family, or everything you worked for, stand tall and protect what belongs to you. Stay strong out there. I'll see you in the next one.